Good morning. Are you ready to AI? Because I am. For some reason, I woke up and I feel a bit motivated to build today. So, with the tools we've got available to us in 2026, early June 2026, what better time is there to get after it and get building? So, I am just going to share my screen. So, this is Anti-Gravity. And it's my dev choice. And this new idea that I had is just really, I think, solving a pain point that I've had with X. I love XSpaces. They're one of the most entertaining, informative, educational parts of X. And obviously, you can listen to it like a podcast while you do other things in the real world. So yeah, it's a great platform, but a couple of things that have frustrated me, I want to try and solve for. So I came up with this title in terms of home office because I think about what's an extension of Spaces. Where do you listen to Spaces in my world? A lot of that is in my home office, but Spaces obviously in the broader context can happen anywhere. And I don't know, just a name that I've come up with, and it might change in the future. But here's where we're going. So what I'm going to do is basically bring you along for the ride as I build this thing and see how far we can get today. And then we are a long weekend, so what I expect to happen if we have some success is to keep building through this weekend, and we'll see where we get on the other side of 3 days. All right, so let's kick off by the initial prompt. So what am I going to say? I'm going to tell Gemini really the problem set, and then we can go from there. I don't know if I can use the mic from here. I guess I can. We'll give it a shot. One of my frustrations with the X platform is XSpaces. What I'd like to do is solve the discovery problem. So build an app or a web app that allows me to connect to the X API and surface any live spaces that relate to the topics that I'm interested in. You might draw this from recent likes on my profile. The user should have the ability to nominate topics, so maybe an onboarding opportunity to ask the user if they're a brand new user. So that brings us to there should be an account sign in, sign out mechanism using their X account, and it should ask them to provide an X API key. That would be their responsibility. And I want you to come up with a world-class AAA UI UX experience for the user to promote, discover, uncover spaces that they may not have ordinarily came across. I want the user to have the ability to understand the calendar of events coming up. So sometimes there's spaces that are so important that you could schedule an item in your calendar. That takes me to the ability to add that item to your Google Calendar or just an ICS file would be amazing. And what else? That might be a good start. So if you could develop a prototype of that, we'll iterate from there. All right, that was a lot. That was a lot, and we're going to see how we go. So I am using Gemini 3.5 Flash, and this is going to burn through some tokens, but that's what we do. All right, so first thing, it's going to start asking me for permissions. So it wants node. Interesting. Command found execution. Exception. Was it asking? Yes, allow this time. So Alexa in the corner wants to chime in. Python was not found. Okay, here's our first problem. So I recently reset this PC. So this is probably not too different than the experience that some users will face when they first try and run something. This has built me an implementation plan. So let's review what it's going to try and do. Pulse Spaces X Discovery Engine. Interesting. It's trying to come up with a new name. Yeah, Pulse Spaces. I'm actually fine that it recommends a name. I might not go with it, but yeah, I think HomeOffice might be my preferred one. So does not support calls. Oh, something else that I just thought of. Users should also have the capacity to participate in spaces as well. So all of the standard functionality in terms of raising hands, configuring your microphone. We are just talking about audio spaces at this stage. Video will be a challenge for another day. Yeah, and also have the ability for people to leave comments against the space. So like effectively what is normally known as the purple pill. And we should also have a technique in here to make it easy to share content to a space, as in the nest or the, what do they call it? The hero section at the top where you have linked content on X. That should be a feature of the app. You should be able to post things that you find on X very easily to the nest. You should have all the host functionality that you regularly have. So somebody would use this in place of the X interface. That means seeing hands, bringing up people. I don't know if it's possible. Explore the opportunity to sequence the hands that go up. So if somebody raises their hand, they get a number 1, the next person get a number 2. This is common in other video conferencing platforms, but let's try and accommodate for that. I don't want sound effects, so don't build any of that. I think that's all for now. Oh, one more thing. Don't call the app Pulse Spaces. Stick with my original name of HomeOffice. All right, so that's me thinking out aloud. And we'll go for that. And I have no doubt that it is going to ask me for some more permissions and wants to install some things which we need to take care of. And while that's working away, okay, I've updated the implementation plan. Bam, we're calling it HomeOffice now, which is excellent. We're going to go and build these pages. Massive app spaces player. Another thought about the UI. Let's have like a directory that's sort of categories of spaces. Let's also have a language filter. I often see in spaces when I do filter spaces that we get a lot of international spaces. If I don't speak their language, it's no point in surfacing that to me. Future state we might deal with grok translations or something, but for now I think we want to keep it to English as a base. And then we'll evolve it to sort of the user's native language in the future to open it to a broader market. But for now, I think, yeah, stick with English. So in that directory browse page, we really want to, or even part of the front page, we really want to make that a special experience that really feels fresh, new, futuristic. So use all the modern CSS, JavaScript animation stuff to delight the user and to respond to where they move their mouse cursor and hover over and that kind of thing. So yeah, make that very impressive and definitely unique. We want something brand new here. All right, so it's going to go and have another shot at updating our implementation plan. I mean, the speed that this works, and I know I'm burning tokens, but it's very impressive how quickly this stuff happens. And then, yeah, it's going to basically get to building in a second. So once I confirm that I'm happy, I will put it to work. Futuristic category. Yep, so I like these categories that it's come up with. Cone tracking. Parallax tilt, like it, love it. Let's see what it looks like. Now, I haven't given it any guidance in terms of, look and feel. I guess I'll start with letting it sort of free rein that, but then I might refine it to, a certain set of colors that I typically like in interfaces. It's got, I think, the bones of what I want. So let's get after it. Okay, let's implement. create a task MD to track our progress. We build the components of a HomeOffice application. Defined structure. I'll create mockdata.js, which has our data structures. I love watching this stuff think and work. That's one of the best things about LLMs. It is just, we could have had like a loading bar or spinning wheel or something, just like traditional applications, but to get an insight into what it's thinking and what it's about to do is really insightful and really helpful. I think I really enjoy that. So this is basically breaking down the tasks, and I think if we look here, we'll have artifacts, background tasks, files changed. All right, what is it doing now? Create index. And like, this will take a little bit, but then I'm keen to run the first version of it and see what that looks like. And while that's happening, I guess I can prepare for that. So if I don't know if I could do that live. Let's try. I'm going to clone the source in OBS. So I've got effectively two windows now. And I'm going to rename one of them Chrome. And then launch this thing. All right, so what I really want from Anti-Gravity, this is version 2 that came out recently. I want it to basically give it permission to do what it needs to do. I have been through processes of... What? Mushy? Hey. Mush? Hey. I'm just got a dog walking past. Demi, you're okay. Demi. Alright, I might get closer blind. Demi, darling. You're okay. Come on. Hello. Alright, I've got a friend. You're going to help now. Alright, what's this thing up to? Yeah, so once this thing is built, the first run, we'll preview it in Chrome and show you that. But yeah, what I was talking through was just, I want to give it permission and let it do what it needs to do. So if it needs to install things in the background, dependencies, I just want it to do that rather than it come back to me and ask and prompt me. I've found the first version of Anti-Gravity was very heavy on that, and it was kind of very annoying to have to always approve. So hoping this is better. And I see at the top there, we've got a localhost 8000. So I will run that and we'll have a look. Can you hear me? All right, you can pop down, miss. Oh, here we go. All right, so I'll fire this up. And wow, we got our first version. There we go. And I might try and put this side by side so we can dev, and then me ends up. Cool. All right, then we're rocking and rolling. So my window is arranged. Sign in with my X account. It says authorized successfully. I have no idea if that's... obviously that hasn't prompted me, so that's not real auth. That's just sort of a pseudo UI. So let's refresh. Where are we up to? All right, so it's going to force sign in at the moment. Let's just do this via voice. I want the user to have the ability to basically try without logging in, as in browse X public timeline. Puppies. Seeing some dogs walk past, 2 seconds. All right, we're back, I think. So what I'm looking for now... Oh, damn it, I still recording. Okay. Emmy puppy, come here, please. deal with this dog. All right, so I think we need the ability to skip the intro page. There we go. That is unbelievable how fast you can have a thought and then just implement. And here we see the first version of this. So let me bring this over a little bit. Actually, it might even be good to do this, because really the bones of this happens here. There we go. Sorry for all the moving. All right, so wow. That is starting to look like something we can work with. Upcoming stuff, schedule the ICS. Oh, that is very cool. Oh, also, make sure we add a change log, and each significant change mark as a major version and minor changes as minor. Can you show me how we add a... Interesting. Make sure we maintain a change log and that we track major changes. Interesting. It's not really getting audio for the second. Oh, it's just delayed. Make sure we maintain a change log and then we track major changes. Cool. So yeah, we don't have to wait for the last step to finish necessarily. We just keep feeding it commands. All right, the next thing I'm thinking about is I want to have a effectively light and a dark mode. Let's add UI options. We should have a light mode by default, a dark mode option, and the ability for the user to configure that to pick up on the Windows theme. So if the user runs in dark mode, it would default to dark mode, that kind of thing. Actually, let's make it do that by default. So the first time someone launches, it is picking up on their Windows theme, as in light or dark, and then they can optionally change it to the other. All right, what I notice here is that we are getting a sudo all languages, and I can, see that there's another, some spaces are international. Not exactly what I asked for, but this I like at the top, the search spaces host topics. That's something that's sorely missing. One aspect of spaces discovery is understanding when your friends are in spaces, whether they're in there as listeners or they're in there as, certainly when they're in there as speakers. We want to have a notification to the user to prompt them to say, give them the opportunity, like a really big significant dialogue or UI that invites them into those spaces that their friends are participating in. So if they're following somebody, leverage that data. Oh, and one more. If they subscribe to an account, they should get an extra high privilege in the algorithm to establish which spaces should be surfaced to the user. All right, cool. I have really used audio inputs into this kind of development pretty sparingly in the past, but I'm noticing obviously that the more data you give this, the better the result, right? And the ability to rapid fire with voice is actually quite a lot. I'm a pretty fast typer, but I don't think I could beat this speech input. So that is something certainly to consider. And I probably should leave on this view. I think this is probably where we're going to notice the most. I can fire into the IDE, but for now, I think we're just going to use agents. And I don't know, I guess in settings is where we are. Yeah, we're picking topics. Excellent. Save the config. Oh, there's the light dark mode. At least the setting for it. It doesn't yet work, but that's okay. All right, force light mode. This horizontal scroll I'm not sold on. If you've got one of these scroll wheels that has the ability to scroll left and right, then that's pretty cool. I do like this live button and the fact that it's sort of flashing gets your attention a little bit. The red live button is certainly, synonymous with sort of radio stations and things that are on the air. Quite like that. Oh, wow. Okay. That I wasn't expecting. So it's got a very neat UI here. It's got pinned in the nest at the top. Now, I don't know if this is like pseudo UI. I expect that it is, rather than it be, actually picking up on a Spaces UI through the API. But raise hand, leave space. This is probably, oh yeah, audio options. Nice. Now that doesn't pick up on the, I'm actually going to use a screenshot here. So the audio, let's do this. So that the audio selection dialog doesn't appear to be picking up the device names that are connected. So if you've got USB devices like this HyperX microphone, I want to see that in the drop down of available microphone devices. Happy? Happy puppy? Got a treat, didn't you? All right. Where do we go? It hasn't come through. So I'm going for text. The audio device name and make it easier for users. Cool. So while that's been working away, I'm hoping that we had other wins. So I'll modify the audio visualizer. Oh, look at that. Oh, that's super cool. I just got a pseudo notification of a friend. Oh, damn it. There's not something you can say. Okay, down here. So down here, I just got a little toast notification. Users should be able to close a toast notification. All right, so yeah, so a little toast notification down the bottom to say a friend has started a space or joined a space, and then it would ultimately take us in there. We can, I guess, close out that space. No, that doesn't work for some reason. We'll fix that in a little bit. Purple pill discussion down the bottom like I asked for. That's kind of cool. Mute, unmute. So actually this is now asking for that. I probably won't do that just in case it interferes sort of the audio recording in OBS. But I will test that at a later time. And again, it's going for interesting. It's probably going to I need to probably allow that. I probably need to allow that, don't I? For it to have the ability for the browser window to connect to the system to detect what the audio name is. Light mode setting is working, is present, not working. Please create a light theme. Cool, all right, categories. Interesting. Should we have a filter that says if a category doesn't have any spaces in there? I think that would make sense. Directory browse. Yep. All right. So what are we doing here? Select theme preference app.js. PowerShell. Cool. I think I want to tweak the directory page, the categories page, so that the categories available are only present or visible if there are spaces available for the user. So it's a bad user experience if you click into something like AI Future Tech and then there's nothing happening. I think we should just hide that category item completely and then bring it back when there are live spaces that relate to that or upcoming. My voice input doesn't seem to be working in here for some reason. Hide any categories that have a current live or scheduled space to have better user experience. Cool. All right. What did it do? I was busy doing that. Active event listener, local storage. Okay, so we've been working on the theme. It says it's done, so let's refresh. Switch that out for light mode. Hey, look at that. Nice. And it's, I mean, there's a couple of accessibility issues there, so let's just make sure. Text is readable. It's white and grey. Cool. I am liking most of this. I'm liking this a lot, actually. Host space is interesting. Yeah. Space button. So what I mean by that it should be, oh, you can't see what's happening. All right, I've got to move this. So I just fed it some feedback that this dialogue is not at all associated with the thing of the site, so we need to resolve that. Close button, spaces panel to write results. Close the panel. All right, so we are picking up and sort of testing as we go, but what I will ultimately do is have this run through, the agent run through, open each page, test the functionality, iterate, and yeah, improve it. Remind me, so the remind button doesn't work. Remind button doesn't do anything. Please build it out. Alright. No! Hit the back button. Thankfully hit the forward button, it's good. Alright, let's see what else we've got going on here. Let's bring this out a little bit. Cool. Let's just check we didn't break too much with the document either. Still not fixed. That toast is happening. I think that's unnecessary at the top. Let's enhance search when user activates. Cool, alright, so my goal there is just as I was looking at the search thing, if I'm searching for a user for, I don't know, for example, I search for a user, I actually want it to be like some websites do that makes the search experience really large and feel a bit more modern, I think. There's a little bit of glowy stuff when you sort of interact with things, they move a little bit, like these ones sort of bounce a little bit, so I don't mind that. I think we can go further with the animation stuff. Let's I'll come up with more precision on that in a future state, I guess, but I kind of imagine you roll over and it kind of animates the glow around it or something like that, yeah. And the, yeah, let's say the join button for a space to really invite someone to click it. I think that's what I'm chasing here. And we're still getting blank categories, so that piece hasn't been implemented yet. So I'll slip back to line, I think. The piece you might not. Oh, okay, we're starting to see that. little bit of green glow there. That's and the line next to it. Okay, now we're getting closer. I like that. I don't know the color selection. Is the color relating to a category maybe? There we wash it out. I do like the highlights though, because it's not a look at that. It's where your mouse is on the block. And it's doing that. Okay. Now we're getting cool. All right, this is the kind of stuff that I wanted. So as your mouse moves to different corners of it, you can see it's sort of rotating this on its plane. That's nice. All right. Loving the highlights now. Need to improve readability. Alright, cool. And just to revise what it's been working on. Move to strict English, premium full screen search. Yep, so alright, so it's even the home icon does that. Cool. Okay, now we're laughing. Now we're getting there. Okay, that's not what I expected search to be. The search pop out should be full width, let's say. Blurs the background underneath it. I don't know if it's going to take it from the bottom and sort of move it up across the center section here. That's what I hope happens. We should be able to click on that user's profile. So the host, it's a single host. It's an ability to click on the user's profile. Actually, let's do this. Test. Test. Alright, I don't know why we got this voice, but we're going to do this by text. When a username is shown here, it should be clickable and should we take them to their profile in a browser window to give them the ability to see their profile information, but also their previous posts and subscribe and that kind of thing? It's probably the nicest thing to do. Or should we just surface that in the interface? There's more API calls to do that. Probably just launch in the browser window, I'm going to think. X account in a new browser tab. So the idea would be that you've got a host there, and click their name, it opens a new tab, you review their profile, you return it here. I think I'm going to have these more visual, like some kind of imagery on the spaces thing. One way to burn a lot of tokens would be to generate on the fly, give it like a generate API key to use Nano Banana and create an image based on the spaces title or the overview here. I actually don't know why these don't have a okay, they do have a title, but it's in. Okay, that's what I was thinking, because the ones down here certainly do. So, what about the highlighted flagship? Let's shrink this actually. So, do that. Cool. That's right. We can just work on maybe that. The top row spaces. Readable. And again, that might only be in light mode. Let's see. Yeah. But I do like that glow. Oh, look what it did to that join button. That is slick. That's exactly the kind of thing. I guess I didn't really put too much thought into what I thought, but that is very tidy. Close button still doesn't work. tried to get it down there. Okay, interesting. Isn't working as expected. User to click the search button, search field at the top, and have the search go full screen with some padding area. Let's call it 20%. Go around, background. Underneath, search dialog should be large. I don't know if that's describing it right to let it know what to do, but I like the general principle of this, but just not how it was working at all. So you see that I click here, and then it launches here, and then it's only once I start typing that it actually gets stuff. So the idea here is that as soon as you click in the top section, you're indicating to the app that you want to search. So then that's the function it should give you the ability to do. I see we've implemented the username link, and it looks like it's across the board, which is pretty sweet. It's launching new X windows. It's great. Thank you very much. Categories are still showing that it's blank. Interesting. So that just tells me we kind of haven't linked the category of spaces. Although, on discovery, let's fix this. It's pretty common UI aspect. I'm surprised it missed on that. Let's check light again. Host to space. I kind of want that host space, that's gross. We'll fix that later. The close button still doesn't close that panel. Yeah, host. Oh, that's nice. Get in there. Yeah, the host dialog. I think we want to build like a full, onboarding UI kind of thing for the host spaces. Actually, let's try that. Up. This should be quick and easy. Alright, let's just review what it's doing. I asked for it to update the search experience. It's gone ahead and not done that. What did it do? So 4 files changed. So we can see that it is premium centered search of those. It's trying. It's trying. All right, let's go for this again. Make sure. All right, so can we add background images for the spaces, tiles? The idea being to make this max to max visualize. Maximally, that's not even a word, but to optimize for visual interest. Sure the text remains visible. So happy for others to have overlays or blur. The images should relate to the spaces category at least, and ideally to the subject matter of the space. also thinking about hanging the user, this host, hanging it off as like an offset, like hosted by, that kind of thing on the side, rather than it be just a small part of it. But this is, I don't know how long we've been going for, but there's 40 minutes. So within less than an hour, we've put this together. We still haven't achieved the closing of the panel on the right. That's funny. But let's just do X and go to, I don't know, SpaceX has just got this deal, so sorry, Marrow post. So the theory here is that I can just pin that post up there like that. Yeah, cool. And then everyone can open that link. Great. That in theory works really well. This is sort of, I guess, an active speaker section here. So that's really nice. Purple pill. I want to have that. Raise hand, lower hand. Oh, actually, something I noticed here. Let me just bring this up for you guys. So down here, over on the right here, I've got the raise hand, lower hand feature, and it tells you what number you are in the queue. So you raise hand, you get number 3. Okay, one thing that I just thought of, you need to help the user with mic settings. They launch into being a speaker. Prompt them to check audio settings, device configuration, offer a record playback test capability to ensure they are set up for success when they attempt to speak. What else am I thinking about? At the end, if the system detects low audio, background noise, etc., the user should be prompted so they can resolve. What would be really nice is if also incorporate connection issues. It's annoying. Oh, not only connection issues, that's one thing. The other big thing I want to tackle is just giving the user feedback that they're talking over other people. When speaking, if a user speaks over other participants, they should receive a significant alert to notify them of this and recommend they avoid in the future. If you are the host, you should also have additional controls like this. Warning users they may be dropped if they continue to break the rules. The host rules of speaking over others. Alright, that's starting to get into some of the things that I've experienced as somebody who's been on Spaces quite a lot. As a listener, sometimes as a speaker, that is something that I just want to there's two ways to think about that. One is that the person doesn't know and that we're sort of helping them by letting them know, hey, FYI, you generally are talking over somebody and that's a bad experience. The other is like they're intentionally doing it and then at some point, like almost like a 3 strikes rule, like we'll let you do that a couple of times, but at some point we're going to pull you up and we're going to boot you. So some technical mechanism to deal with that I think would be fun. All right, so this has, actually on my last prompts, this has come back and we've got an implementation plan to review. So this is around the audio, low level, etc., etc. It's going to need to do some pretty fancy stuff on the back end to achieve that. Verification, so manual verification. So speakers, promotion, onboarding. So join a space as a listener, raise hand, wait for simulator button. Interesting. let's go. All right. As I said, I am going to, and I do this a fair bit in my development, is let it run, connect to the browser and let it run itself and do further testing. What I'm also keen to see is these images show up behind the tile of each one of the spaces. And to be honest, I haven't really paid much attention to these example spaces. All right, that's one that's still annoying me. Please fix the plays functionality on another space. I can be very prescriptive about this, as in the X button. The X button doesn't work. Fix. All right, cool. So it'll keep working on what I asked it to. So it looks like it might have even finished right at the same time. So it worked for 1 minute. It says, oh, okay, all right. It's early days, but we've got background images on the tiles now. On some tiles. Why do we get some tiles? Why do we get some tiles? That doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Grr. I also think when you hit join space like that from the notification, it should bring you up to a spaces overview and then have a second function to join. So yeah. Okay. When the user attempts to join a space, they should get a dialog, a larger dialog to review the spaces, hosts, content, comments, etc. Then click again to confirm I wish to join that space. Also have the option to back out. So what's my thinking there is you've got a space here that, say one of your friends join a space, which, you know, you're not in control of what they join. They could join some random crazy space. So although you're sort of connected with them, doesn't mean you like every space that they join. So you can review that space and just see if it's for you, you know. So if I've seen a friend join this one, building agentic workflows in Gemini, that sounds like a space to me, but I want a dialogue that lets me get a good overview of that, maybe the comments underneath of what sort of the commentary that's happening there. I'd see speakers, I'd see listeners, and then I'm going to make my assessment about what it is. And in a future state, what you could do is do that AI summary catch-up that's sort of starting to be pretty common. I think we're talking about, first seen it on TikTok on live streams, where they would basically, it's a technique to give new viewers a quick update to avoid something that happens commonly. So you join a stream that's been going for an hour, and you ask all of the same questions that's been asked in the last hour. And so then the host has to basically repeat. And so for the existing audience, that's a pretty terrible experience. So the way they're solving for that is everything's pretty much being recorded at the same time. So look at the transcription, AI summary of what's happened to date, you know, where is the person, what is the topic, you know, what's happening. And so you can skip on all those repeat questions is kind of the idea there. I like that mentality, and maybe we can wrap up that as functionality in the future. It's probably not a primary goal for day one, maybe in a future state. So I like that we've got background images. I'm not sold that this really is what I really wanted. I think I wanted a bit more of a punchy image in there to really make them differentiated. I like that it's clean and modern, like I didn't really have to sort of draw too much on that. Maybe I'll just highlight to it that some of the tiles, some of the spaces still don't have background images. I'd also like to make the backgrounds punchy. And you think, how would it know? What do you mean by punchy, right? Like, what is that? Now, if I think about the way on the internet, the data that this has been trained on, when I think about that, it's, there's going to be a lot of people talking about UI design and that sort of stuff, and you really want this bright and vibrant, punchy colors and those kind of things. So if it really gets that, it will understand what I mean by that, and then update the images to do that. So let's call it like reducing the level of transparency, opacity on that image, so more of it shows through to the tile. But then you've got to do some, maybe it could be drop shadows or something. I really, not a huge fan of drop shadows, but some kind of effect that ensures that text over the top is still readable. So I'm going to see what it comes up with. This is certainly filtering the ones that weren't, except for that one for some reason. And I just noticed that reminder. Okay, reminder button doesn't add a space to your watch list. What do I think? Watch list. I'm not really sold on watch list. I'm thinking this is more like a stream, shows. This is the other challenge. At times there are multiple great XSpaces happening at the same time. We need to solve this, as in recommend you may like this other space that is also live. Let's also separate and have a dedicated nav item/page for live spaces as compared to upcoming. I think that's where I want to go with it, because when I jump into spaces, I want to listen to stuff right now. That's the objective. I've got time to spare. I'm doing a task. I need background audio. I'm going to sleep. Whatever the thing is, I need to listen to something right now. Then there's the other capacity, which is a bit more forward planning. Like, hey, I should, set an alarm, let's say for 6:30 on Wednesday, because there's this amazing space that I want to listen to. So I think having those segmented is smarter than necessarily like happening now is kind of like one way to do that. This will also solve for this horizontal scroll, I think. I really kind of having a dedicated page is just looking at the live spaces. I like the uncover spaces, like this could be like happening now that are sort of relative to you and your preferences, but then like a bit broader than that, you can have the here's your discovery section underneath that. So I do quite enjoy that. I like that. Star button does nothing, will solve for that. Preview space. Okay, so this is great. This is kind of what I wanted. Not 100% exactly the UI I had in mind, but a great opportunity to preview the space before you go in. Good job. That is really, really cool. I like that a lot, actually. Confirm and join. And then that damn close button still doesn't work. I don't know why that is. Why can't we make the close button work? Let's focus on that, eh? This is still busy doing this. Modify the sidebar navigation. Discover spaces, live spaces. Okay, I know you said, I'm like, where is it? It's right here. Live spaces, upcoming spaces. Alright, let's reorder the nav. Live spaces. Upcoming spaces. There it is. I think calendar. I think here's where my brain went then, was I want to have this in a bit more of a logical sequence. So live spaces being the primary top, and I can see it's started to play with that. Remember when we said punchy? It's tried to have a shot of that. We're still not there. I'll continue to tweak it, but you're getting the sense that each tile is sort of important and like it's different than just the generic like white background. I might go back to that, but comparing this to this, I do like the highlight on the left of that. Maybe there's a merit in having, standard ones and then like featured ones. Look, in a very cool end state, if this got popular, you could have sponsored spaces, and they are the vibrant, rich ones with images in the background, and they effectively cost more to draw attention. They rank higher in the algorithm, that kind of thing for discovery. Anyway, I like this calendar schedule bit. That is perfectly fine. Download ICS. I'm going to imagine that works. And the calendar connection. So my watch list. Okay, so this looks now like we are getting star. Yep. So okay. So what I just seen then, star, and then it goes into watch list. But we didn't get any UI. The user has to refresh basically before we would see that. And it also looks like it didn't hold that anyway. So calendar, and then it goes calendar agenda is wrong, but it does go star it. So cool. And then I get nah. Cool. Amazing. So that's trying to bounce off the dates. Interesting. All right, more work to go on that, I suppose. I think calendar will come down the chain, but interesting functionality to sort of say, hey, I care about that now. And then let's go to this. What have I got here? Pinned resources. So this is, I guess, from the Nest and then recent chat. I quite like that, actually. Back out, confirm and join. You might want to do confirm and join as a listener, and then, the ability to join. If the space allows it, the user should have the ability to join as a listener or directly as a speaker. So that's just reflecting sort of the functionality on XSpaces. Is you have this ability, if a space host configures the space in a way that allows, usually like say verified or friends of theirs, people they're connected with, to directly join as hosts or speakers, speakers, and then they can escalate to hosts, then that just reduces that friction of joining a space first, listening, and then having to request and then get approved to go to speaker. So I think that's an important function to have when you join. But I'm liking this. I would like it probably to be larger. Alright, so just said, make it larger, add more detail if you need to, but also don't want to make it more crammed. I think by stretching it out, we'll give it a bit more space and a bit more freedom. So we'll see how that comes together. And it should be picking up that background. I think that it is. Going back out. And interestingly, this closed dialog works fine. This one still does not. I don't know what it is about that. That just doesn't love life. It's just a button. I can help it here, I guess. Let's feed it that. No, this still doesn't work. Alright, cool. Get to work, don't I? All right, at changelog 2. So I haven't really reviewed this in a minute, but you can move over there for 2 seconds. And let's get this guy here. So let's check this out. So we've basically been building, and yeah, cool. So version 1.3. I never know whether major minors are really important. At this stage, when we're early prototyping, I mean, pretty much every change is a massive change, right? Because it went from nothing to being built and then not working to working, so that's pretty major. As we get further into the development and refinement, maybe there's merit in doing sort of minor changes and tracking those. Changing the color of things highlights, interactions in a minor way rather than say, hey, we're going to add a whole new section to the nav. Yeah, so anyway, just a thought around that. What else are we doing here? Where is about to? Still doing this. Visualizer. Still cracking on. All right. Let's go back and play some more. So we'll refresh again. Yeah, what you guys are not seeing is I'm doing sort of Shift F5 to make sure we're grabbing the latest version. And yeah, we haven't looked at the host space dialog for a while, so it's got which category you want to make it in, gaming, esports. That might be a little flawed in terms of so there's the current categories that I like, my interests. There could be capacity where we just create a brand new one. So probably want to skip option there and just let the user choose. Add for the new space dialog and custom category to that user and define the space on the next page. Alright, so what we should end up with there is a custom one here. So none of those suit. We're going to go custom. That will effectively take you to here, and then you can do that. I actually really like that. I don't know what it would use to draw from, maybe current other spaces, but you don't want to have the same title as somebody else. This is a really good, interesting part. So the title of your space can be really, really important in terms of your discovery, including specific words, tags. Sometimes using emojis will draw attention. That red alert alarm kind of one certainly draws attention if it's SpaceX related and you use a rocket, those kind of things. So I wonder if we can help hosts with that. Maybe a note for another day. And I do wonder about this when you have an idea, how much you should just like directly feed it in and like get that built versus, telling it, here's an idea I have, and building like an ideas list, and then like coming back to those and saying, hey, I've finished all of the tier 1 ideas, and now it's time to go to the tier 2 to sort of build that out a bit more. Don't know, we'll experiment. And then the next, so this is a 1, 2, 3 sort of spaces host thing. Start muted, start unmuted. I love that. Actually really love that. There's been, and I don't know if that's actually supported by the platform, that's the only thing, but there's been times where you join and you're like, you're not 100% sure whether you're muted or not. So muted by default is definitely the move. And then if you were totally ready and let's say you got kicked out and you had to come back in or something, you want to start unmuted and you want to continue where you're up to, obviously you're joining conversation. So that would be the logical choice of having it. Not done, scheduled. I didn't ask it to build a scheduled thing in terms of, hey, I might need to create a room that doesn't start for 3 hours. I think we can work on this date time selection. That's probably easier to, scroll wheel it or something. Start with now and go into the future. But anyway, let's imagine that we did all that. We've got a title for the space. What do we call that? Yep, something like that. And then kicks us into the space. Speaker request queue. Okay, so that's cool. And then purple pill. Why, oh why, does our close button not work? This seems like the hardest part of all of this. Okay, so friends has just joined. Why? I just, out of everything, that was not something that I had on my bingo list of being a problem of. It just doesn't make any sense. Oh. Also live now. This response, okay, let me bring this up. So this responds perfectly to my request before. Is you're in a space and you think that's the most important thing in the world, and you kind of get like this, narrow view, and then it will make recommendations like, actually, there's another one, and then it does the preview. Perfect. That's what I love, because then you can it's basically proposing this alternative space to you. Back out. You know what would be really cool? Is if you were a speaker and you made this decision, like, I've got to go over here, there's usually sort of a byplay that happens in terms of, hey, I've got to leave and go do this other thing. And it's kind of like a bit awkward if there was some kind of, you push the button to say I'm going, and in the space that you were in, that it kind of let the other, host know you're exiting in some way. In the very simplest term, it would post in the comments of that to let them know that you've left. That's probably the easiest thing to do. So, let's do this. If I ever take the proposed alternative space option, please confirm to join the new space. Please post in the comments of the previous space something like so. Sorry, you guys aren't seeing this. Let users customize their exit message in settings. Cool. I like that. So it's just an automated thing. You should probably have an option to turn that off too, but for now, early days. But yeah, so the theory is you're in a space, this is great, you get prompted, do you want to switch? You review, you go, yep, and then without you doing anything, it's going and publishing that as a comment on that space. Actually, these look pretty great in... I'm starting to like that a lot in the dark mode. I wonder if it's just a light mode thing. Actually, I don't know why I have this. So, oh, okay, right. So it's got I've got to do bits and pieces there. Join, back out, upcoming spaces. Yeah, when you hit start, we need that's looking tidy as. I like that. Categories. Still got to fix that blank category section. And it must be doing something because live spaces died. I think 4 might be too much to cram in there, like in terms of, yeah, that's better, but 4 at that level. Once we go wide, can do 5. I actually quite like how that's responsive. There's just one small part of it where it looks a bit cramped. And I'm thinking mostly this join live button. Go join and then join live. But these are live as well. That's pretty inconsistent. Say join. Alright, because there's absolutely nothing wrong with this join button here. Like, that's perfect. So we don't need to have a join live. It's just not necessary. Cool. What else are we going to do now? I think maybe we've had a really good run. I'll do some more thinking about. Hey, our search works. This is much better. Actually, clearly we're dealing with fake users in here, so fake hosts. So let's try Alex. have filters on Alex. I can't believe that works. And the account doesn't exist, of course, it's a fake user. But that search now is far more what I wanted. And it's like, let's pick another test one. And also I'll do light just to make sure it's not just, cool. And here's our recommended auto exit message. Great. So I'll do, yeah, that's nice. All right, that'll do me for now. We'll talk again soon. Bye.